crouched in a foxhole in Normandy, France. It's the summer of 1944, and you've been in combat for 3 straight days. The deafening roar of artillery fire echoes around you, sending tremors through the soft earth. Your hands are raw and blistered from digging, your uniform caked with mud. Your M1 Garand rifle is hot to the touch. You fired so many rounds that you could almost light a cigarette on the barrel. Across the hedgerow, maybe 100 yards away, elite German paratroopers are preparing for their attack. You're exhausted. You're hungry. Your ammunition is dangerously low. And then you see them. German paratroopers emerging from the tree line, bayonets fixed, but not just any bayonets. These are chrome dress bayonets, polished to a mirror shine, glinting in the summer sun. And is that music? Yes, martial music plays in the background as they advance toward your position and formation. What's your next move? Do you hold your fire until they get closer? Do you empty what's left of your ammunition in a desperate volley? Your decisions in the next few moments will determine whether you and the handful of men left in your decimated company live or die. This isn't a movie. This isn't fiction. This was the reality for William A. Biehler and the men of the 90th Infantry Division during the Battle of Beau-Coudray in the bloody hedgerow country of Normandy. Welcome to POV World War II. I'm your host, Fernando Prieto, and today we're going to take you on an extraordinary journey through World War II as experienced by one American infantryman. From his early days at Rutgers University to the beaches of Normandy, through the race across France, and into the heart of Germany. You'll experience the war through Bill Biehler's eyes. You'll feel the fear, the camaraderie, the exhaustion, and ultimately, the triumph of survival against incredible odds. What does it mean to be a 19-year-old college student one day and a combat infantryman the next? What is it like to face elite German forces with limited training and dwindling supplies? How does a man cope with seeing his friends killed and wounded all around him? And how does that experience shape the rest of his life? It's 1941. You're a freshman at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Life is good. The campus is small, only about 1,500 students, and you know most of your classmates by name. You've pledged Chi Psi fraternity, you're on the freshman crew team, and you've joined the rifle team. Classes are going well. Your first semester grades were mostly A's and B's. You're the son of German immigrants, raised in Summit, New Jersey. Your grandfather migrated from Germany in the 1890s, part of the vibrant German-American community in North Jersey. Summit was a comfortable place to grow up, not wealthy, but stable, even during the Depression. Your father worked for a dairy and later for Ciba Pharmaceuticals. You had a good childhood, with the Boy Scouts and the YMCA forming the center of your social life. The Boy Scouts taught you skills that most city kids never learned: how to build fires in the rain, how to tie knots, how to use a map and compass, how to survive outdoors. Little do you know how valuable those skills will soon become. On a Sunday in December, you're home from college when the radio program is suddenly interrupted. Pearl Harbor has been attacked by Japanese forces. The United States is at war. You look at your father, a Navy veteran from World War I. He's already talking about signing up again, even though he's in his 40s. Something shifts inside you at that moment. You know, with absolute certainty, that your college days are numbered. Back at Rutgers, the war changes everything. Your ROTC instructors, who had always worn civilian clothes, show up the next day in full Army uniforms. You suddenly realize they were military officers all along. The physical education requirements become more rigorous. The population of male students begins to drop as young men enlist or are drafted. You continue your studies, but there's a sense of marking time. You switch your major from chemistry to pre-med, but your heart isn't fully in it. You know you're destined for military service. By 1943, your time has come. You've signed up for the Army Specialized Training Program, ASTP, with the promise of engineering education at the University of Pennsylvania. You report to Fort Dix, New Jersey, take the oath, and officially become a private in the United States Army. Basic training takes you to Camp Fannin, Texas. 17 weeks of intense preparation for war. You learn to fire the M1 rifle, the carbine, the grease gun, mortars, machine guns. You practice with hand grenades, bayonets, even garrotes. You march and hike every day, building strength and endurance. You learn to identify enemy tanks and planes, to read maps, to set up pup tents and dig foxholes. You notice immediately how your Boy Scout training gives you an advantage. The first night sleeping under the stars, many of your fellow trainees, city boys who've never spent a night outdoors, are terrified of snakes, spiders, wild animals. For you, it's familiar territory. But the Army has its own way of doing things. The training films are almost comically basic, explaining simple tasks as if speaking to children. You must take the shovel and place it in the sand. And in the soil, you pull it up and you put it over here, and you slope the sides to prevent caving in. Each instruction is repeated dozens of times. For college-educated men like yourself, it seems absurd. Then comes the disappointment. At Fort Meade, Maryland, you learn that the entire ASTP program has been scrapped. The Army needs infantrymen more than it needs engineers. All of you are being reassigned to infantry units. Some men protest, feeling betrayed by broken promises. But you're pragmatic. Things change in wartime. Before shipping out, you get 2 weeks final leave. You visit your family, write your will, and prepare for what's to come. The Army warns you not to bring anything valuable overseas. Leave your gold watch and family heirlooms at home. Where you're going, possessions are the least of your concerns. From Camp Kilmer, New Jersey, you board a bus to New York Harbor and immediately onto a converted British refrigerator ship. The accommodations are cramped, the food terrible. At 6'4", you keep banging your head on pipes and valves protruding from the low ceiling. You wear your steel helmet constantly, and by the time you reach England, it's dented from all the impacts. Your convoy consists of over 100 ships, troop transports, Liberty ships carrying supplies, an aircraft carrier in the center, and destroyer escorts patrolling the perimeter. The crossing takes nearly 2 weeks, with the ships zigzagging to avoid German submarines. Miraculously, no ships in your convoy are attacked. Upon reaching Liverpool, you're immediately loaded onto a train and sent to a replacement depot in Wales. There, you're issued an M1 rifle and trained to adjust its sights. You'll soon discover that the American M1 is one of your greatest advantages against the Germans, who carry bolt-action rifles without adjustable sights. In May 1944, tension fills the air. Everyone knows something big is coming. Then, on June 6th, you witness endless formations of planes flying overhead. The invasion of Europe has begun. 3 days later, you board another ship, this one bound for the beaches of Normandy. What would you be thinking as you prepared to enter combat for the first time? As the coast of France appears on the horizon, do you feel fear, excitement, or a strange numbness? The greatest test of your life is about to begin. It's June 20th, 1944, D-Day plus 14. You're climbing down a rope ladder from your transport ship into a landing craft. The English Channel churns beneath you, waves slapping under the side of the vessel. Your 40-pound barracks bag weighs heavily on your shoulder. Your M1 rifle is slung across your back. You're weighed down with ammunition, but curiously, no hand grenades yet. The landing craft pitches in the rough sea. The sailor operating it shouts over the noise. "Get ready, boys." The bow ramp drops with a splash, and suddenly you're wading through the cold water of Utah Beach. Sporadic artillery fire from German positions sends plumes of sand and seawater into the air. You move quickly, eyes scanning for danger. This isn't the hellish scene from the initial D-Day landing. Most of the beach defenses have been cleared, but it's still an active combat zone. You climb the sandy embankment and move inland. A sergeant directs you to yet another replacement depot, just a couple hundred yards from the beach. There you spend a restless night, falling asleep to the distant thunder of artillery. The next morning, trucks arrive from various units, collecting replacements. Names are called. Biehler. You're with the 90th Infantry Division, 357th Regiment, Company K. You climb aboard a truck with a handful of other fresh-faced replacements. As the truck bumps along cratered roads, someone says, "I hear gunfire. Should we load our weapons?" In basic training, you never did anything without orders, but this is different. This is real. By unspoken agreement, everyone locks and loads their M1 rifles. When you arrive at division headquarters, you see the distinctive TO patch, Texas and Oklahoma, the states where the division was raised in World War I. From there, smaller groups of you are directed to different regiments and companies. Finally, you reach Company K of the 357th Infantry Regiment. The company commander greets you briefly, but there's a hollowness in his eyes that sends a chill down your spine. You learn later that Company K, which should have around 200 men, is down to about 30. They've been in constant combat since the landing, with no replacements until now. A corporal leads you to a foxhole where you meet your new foxhole buddy. "Who are those guys over there?" You ask, nodding towards soldiers visible across a field bordered by thick hedgerows. "Those are German paratroopers," he replies matter-of-factly. Your heart skips a beat. Just like that, you're on the front line. 100 yards away, elite German forces are preparing their next attack. The tactical situation quickly becomes clear. You're in what the locals call bocage country, a landscape of small fields surrounded by ancient hedgerows. These aren't garden hedges. They're earthen berms 3 to 4 feet thick and just as high, topped with tangled vegetation, forming natural fortifications. Perfect for defense, nightmarish for attack. The Germans know this terrain intimately. They've zeroed their mortars and artillery on every field, every gap in the hedgerows. They have machine guns covering every approach. And they're not just any Germans. These are battle-hardened elite paratroopers who fought in North Africa and Italy. Your first day passes in tense quiet. Occasional sniper fire cracks overhead if anyone exposes themselves. You quickly learn to keep your head down. The two-man foxhole becomes your world. 2 hours on watch, 2 hours of fitful sleep, around the clock. One man always awake, scanning for German patrols. At night, absolute silence is essential. The Germans send out listening posts, trying to pinpoint American positions. A whisper, a cough, a carelessly struck match can bring deadly mortar fire raining down on your position. Then, on your second day, you experience your first taste of real combat. "First squad, first platoon, follow me," your squad leader shouts. There are only 4 of you instead of the standard 12-man squad. You've been ordered to probe the German positions in the next hedgerow. Your heart pounds as you follow your squad leader through a gap in the hedgerow into the open field beyond. Suddenly, the world explodes around you. An 88mm shell lands directly in front of the point men. The concussion knocks you flat. Your ears ring painfully. When you look up, the first 2 men are down, blood pouring from their mouths. "Medic!" someone shouts, but you know it's too late for them. Machine gun fire rakes the ground. You crawl forward, trying to reach a position where you can return fire. The Germans have multiple machine guns positioned to create interlocking fields of fire. Wherever you turn, bullets kick up dirt inches from your face. You look around and realize with horror that only you and 2 others are left. Then one of them is hit in the leg by a machine gun burst. The other has disappeared. What's your next move? Stay and fight alone? Try to drag the wounded men back? Retreat? You make the only sensible choice. You sprint back toward your own hedgerow, zigzagging as bullets chase you. You dive through the gap just as a mortar round impacts where you were seconds before. Out of 5 men who started the patrol, only 2 return unwounded. Your first combat action, and the casualty rate is 60%. You think to yourself, we're not going to last very long at this rate. But you've learned valuable lessons. The Germans are well entrenched. They have superior firepower in the form of mortars and the dreaded 88mm guns. Their machine gun positions are expertly placed, and most importantly, frontal assaults against prepared positions are suicidal. The next day, everything changes. The German paratroopers launch a major attack against your thinly held line. What follows will be the defining experience of your combat career. The Battle of Beau-Coudray. Dawn breaks gray and misty over the hedgerow country. You've barely slept, rotating guard duty through the night with your foxhole buddy. The morning silence is broken by a distant rumbling that quickly grows into a thunderous roar. Artillery shells begin landing all around your position. Incoming, someone shouts. But the warning is unnecessary. You've already pressed into the bottom of your foxhole, helmet pulled tight against your head, body curled to present the smallest possible target. The barrage lasts 20 minutes, but it feels like hours. The ground shakes beneath you. Dirt and debris rain down. The air fills with the acrid smell of explosives and churned earth. When the artillery finally lifts, you know what comes next. You check your M1 rifle, counting your remaining ammunition. You've been at the front for only 3 days, but already you're running low on ammo. No resupply has made it to your isolated position. Your platoon sergeant shouts down the line. Here they come. Hold your fire until they're closer. Through gaps in the hedgerow, you can see them. German paratroopers advancing across the open field in formation. But something's different. These aren't the battlefield tactics you've trained for. Are those dress bayonets? The man in the next foxhole calls out in disbelief. He's right. The German paratroopers have fixed chromed dress bayonets to their rifles. They glint in the morning sun as the soldiers advance. And there's something else. Martial music plays from somewhere behind their lines. A stirring military march to bolster their courage as they attempt to overrun your position. This is no desperate last stand. This is a calculated demonstration of force, designed to break your will to resist. Wait for it. Wait for it. Your sergeant calls. Steady. Steady. The Germans are 75 yards away. 50 yards. 40. Fire. You squeeze the trigger of your M1, feeling the familiar recoil against your shoulder. All along the hedgerow, American rifles and machine guns open fire. German soldiers fall, but others keep coming, stepping over their fallen comrades, faces set with determination. The American firepower is devastating. Your M1 can fire 8 rounds as fast as you can pull the trigger. The German Mauser rifles require the bolt to be worked between each shot. You can get off 2 rounds for every one of theirs. Still, they keep coming. 30 yards now. 20. You can see their faces clearly. Young men, not much different from yourself, but wearing different uniforms, fighting for a different cause. Your rifle runs empty. You slam a new 8-round clip into the chamber and continue firing. The M1 makes a distinctive ping sound when the empty clip ejects. A sound that some say alerts the enemy that you're reloading. But with so many rifles firing, that hardly matters now. The German attack falters at 15 yards from your position. Too many have fallen. Their officer gives the signal, and the survivors retreat, dragging some of their wounded with them. You've repelled the first attack, but you know they'll be back. and your ammunition situation is getting critical. This is just the beginning. Over the next 3 days, the German paratroopers launch 14 separate attacks against your position. 14 attempts to break through your line. They try different tactics, night infiltrations, flanking movements, concentrated assaults on perceived weak points. But they all fail, thanks to American determination, the superior firepower of the M1 rifle, and the devastating effect of U.S. artillery, directed with pinpoint accuracy by observers in light Piper Cub aircraft circling overhead. Between attacks, 2 men must make the journey back to company headquarters for water and ammunition. You volunteer, sprinting through the exposed areas while mortar rounds land around you. You stuff your pockets with ammunition and canteens, then make the return journey, zigzagging to avoid sniper fire. The battle rages for 3 days and 3 nights. You barely eat, grabbing bites of K-rations when you can. Sleep comes in 20-minute snatches. Your body so exhausted it can rest even amid the chaos. The constant artillery and machine gun fire create a strange white noise that becomes almost normal. On the second day, you learn that 2 other companies in your battalion, Companies L and I, have been cut off and captured. Your already thin line must stretch even further to cover their position. Now there's nearly 100 yards between each foxhole. If the Germans find those gaps, they'll pour through and surround you. By the 3rd day, the situation is desperate. Ammunition is critically low. You've been collecting cartridges from the dead and wounded. Your rifle barrel is so hot from constant firing that the wooden foregrip is scorched. Your hands are blistered, your throat raw from the dust and smoke. The fate of the entire beachhead seems to rest on the shoulders of your depleted company. If the Germans break through here, they could potentially drive all the way back to the landing beaches. Thousands of Allied troops are still coming ashore daily, vulnerable until they can move inland. Finally, the division commander commits his reserve, troops he's been holding back to guard his headquarters. These fresh soldiers reinforce your line just as the German attacks begin to lose their intensity. The paratroopers are exhausted too. They've lost hundreds of men against your stubborn defense. Their supplies are also running low. Gradually, the attacks taper off, and an uneasy quiet settles over the battlefield. The Battle of Beau-Coudray is over. Your company is held, but at terrible cost. Of the approximately 40 men in your platoon at the start of the battle, only 8 remain unwounded. The night after the battle, you hear single shots ring out from foxholes down the line. 3 separate incidents of men shooting themselves in the foot. The stress has become too much. They've chosen a self-inflicted wound over continuing to face combat. You've survived your baptism of fire, but the war has only begun. And Beau-Coudray was just a small battle in the massive campaign to liberate Europe. What was it inside you that allowed you to endure when others broke? Was it the Boy Scout training that gave you confidence outdoors? The discipline instilled by your German-American parents? Or simply the human will to survive? Whatever it was, it carried you through one of the most intense battles of the Normandy campaign. But there would be many more battles to come. It's late July 1944. You're standing on high ground, looking out over the bocage country you've fought through for nearly a month. Behind you lies the blood-soaked hedgerows of Normandy. Ahead, you can see open country, fields without the suffocating hedgerows, terrain where tanks can maneuver freely, where American mobility and firepower can finally be brought to bear. High above, the sky fills with aircraft. Hundreds of American bombers flying in tight formation. They're about to drop thousands of tons of explosives on German positions around Saint-Lô, the linchpin of the German defensive line. This is Operation Cobra, the breakout from the Normandy beachhead. After nearly 2 months of brutal fighting for every hedgerow, the Allied forces are poised to burst into the open country beyond and begin the race across France. The bombing is both awesome and terrifying. The ground shakes beneath your feet. Massive clouds of dust and smoke rise thousands of feet into the air. When the bombing finally stops, the German lines have been shattered. Many defenders are dead or stunned into surrender. Others have simply fled. Your company moves forward through the gaps torn in the German defenses. For the first time since landing in Normandy, you're advancing without facing immediate, fierce resistance. The Germans are in retreat. Within days, your division, the 90th Infantry, is assigned to the newly activated 3rd Army under General George S. Patton. The famously aggressive Patton has a simple strategy: advance as rapidly as possible. Keep the Germans on the run. Don't give them time to set up new defensive lines. Your life changes dramatically. After weeks of inch-by-inch progress through the hedgerows, you're now moving miles every day. Sometimes you walk, sometimes you ride on the backs of tanks, sometimes in trucks. The important thing is to keep moving forward. The Germans have shifted to a new defensive strategy. Unable to hold continuous lines, they establish roadblocks at strategic points. A couple of tanks, some machine guns, perhaps a company of infantry. They fire a few shots, slow the American advance momentarily, then withdraw before they can be overwhelmed. These delaying tactics are effective in slowing you down, but they can't stop the flood of American forces pouring through the gap in the German lines. The 90th Division pushes south towards the city of Le Mans, while other elements of Patton's army drive west toward Brittany, or east toward Paris. For you, the danger changes. Instead of the constant artillery barrage of the hedgerow fighting, now you face sniper fire, occasional artillery, and the deadly roadblocks. But the casualty rate has dropped dramatically. The momentum is clearly with the American forces. Your unit is part of a task force that includes the 4th Armored Division and elements of the French 2nd Armored Division. The French troops are particularly motivated. This is their homeland they're liberating. You notice they tend to disappear at night, visiting French villages to celebrate with the local population. They're also fond of building large bonfires, which draw German artillery fire and cause no end of frustration for American commanders. As you push toward Le Mans, you experience your first liberation of a French town. The emotions are overwhelming. French civilians line the streets, weeping, offering flowers, bottles of wine, embraces. Young women want to shake hands with every American soldier. The mayor attempts to give a speech, but your officers urge you to keep moving. The Germans are retreating, but they could counterattack at any moment. You see firsthand the effects of German occupation. Food is scarce in these towns. Many buildings bear the scars of fighting or bombardment. Occasionally you see French civilians taking revenge on women who consorted with German soldiers, roughly shaving their heads in public humiliation. After capturing Le Mans, your division turns north towards the Falaise Gap. This is where the decisive battle of the campaign will unfold. Tens of thousands of troops are retreating eastward, trying to escape the rapidly closing American and British forces. If the Allies can close the gap near Falaise, they'll trap and destroy the German 7th Army. Your division takes up positions on high ground overlooking the Falaise pocket. Below, in a valley stretching for miles, the entire German 7th Army is trying to escape through a narrowing corridor. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. American artillery, 18 batteries supporting your division alone, pounds the trapped Germans mercilessly. The valley floor becomes a hellscape of destroyed vehicles, dead horses, and human casualties. The Germans send desperate attacks up the slopes toward your positions, but they're cut down by overwhelming firepower. Looking through your binoculars, you can see the chaos on the valley floor. The Germans used horse-drawn transport for much of their supplies, and dead horses litter the battlefield. Vehicles are burning. Ammunition trucks explode in spectacular fireballs, and German soldiers run in all directions, seeking escape. Your company is ordered to hold its position and prevent any Germans from breaking out in your sector. The fighting is intense but one-sided. The Germans are exposed on the open slopes, while you unload from prepared positions with clear fields of fire. For 10 days, the slaughter continues. By the time the battle ends, the German army has lost over 10,000 killed and 50,000 captured in the Falaise pocket alone. It's a devastating blow, but not a complete victory. Due to delays in closing the gap, thousands of German troops escape to fight another day. The soldiers who finally link up with your position aren't British as expected, but Polish troops fighting under British command. When they arrive, they have a chilling confession. They've run out of ammunition because they've been shooting German prisoners. When your captain explains that this violates the rules of war, the Polish officer responds coldly, "They shoot my countrymen, I shoot them." It's a stark reminder of the brutality this war has unleashed across Europe, and how the experience differs for those whose homelands have been under Nazi occupation for years. After the Falaise pocket is finally closed, your division undertakes a grueling forced march to rejoin the main body of Patton's Third Army. You march 100 miles in 3 days, your feet blistered and bleeding in your combat boots. But the discomfort is offset by a growing sense of momentum. The Germans are on the run, and victory seems increasingly possible. You catch up with the rest of Third Army at Reims, where Patton's advance has finally been halted, not by German resistance, but by lack of fuel. The rapid advance has outrun the supply lines. While generals argue over fuel allocation and strategy, you enjoy a brief respite. The champagne warehouses of Reims provide a welcome diversion. Having never tasted champagne before, you're issued a free bottle your first night there. The next morning, you wake up with your first hangover, just in time for a German mortar attack that leaves you feeling doubly miserable. The halt at Reims lasts about a week, precious time that allows the Germans to regroup and begin establishing new defensive positions further east. While Patton finally gets his fuel, the advance resumes. But now you're facing more determined resistance. The race across France has transformed you from a nervous replacement into a combat veteran. You've learned to distinguish between different types of incoming artillery by sound alone. You know how to find food and shelter in abandoned villages. You've developed the sixth sense that can help you spot ambushes and booby traps. Most importantly, you've learned that survival often depends on the man next to you. The buddy who watches while you sleep, who shares his last K-ration when you're hungry, who will drag you to safety if you're wounded. In just a few months, you've traveled from the blood-stained beaches of Normandy across hundreds of miles of French countryside. You've helped liberate dozens of towns and villages. You've seen the worst of humanity in the carnage of the Falaise pocket, and the best in the joyous welcomes of liberated French civilians. But the hardest fighting still lies ahead. As summer turns to autumn, your division approaches the German border in the formidable defenses of the Siegfried Line. The Germans are now defending their homeland, and they'll fight with renewed determination. The race across France is over. Now begins the grueling task of taking Germany itself. September 1944. The rapid advance across France is slowed as you approach the German border. The enemy is fighting with renewed vigor, offering stiff resistance and falling back towards the Siegfried Line. A vast network of concrete bunkers, tank traps, and minefields protecting Germany's western frontier. Your division is directed toward the city of Metz, a heavily fortified urban center that serves as an anchor point for the Siegfried Line. The Germans have had 4 years to prepare these defenses, and they've done their work thoroughly. The terrain has changed dramatically from the open country of central France. Now you're fighting through the industrial areas, small villages, and the suburbs of larger cities. Urban combat presents new challenges: snipers in upper-story windows, booby-trapped buildings, the constant danger of ambush in narrow streets. Your unit approaches Mazaret-la-Metz, a suburb that must be cleared before the main assault on Metz can begin. Intelligence reports suggest moderate resistance, but as you move into the outskirts of the town, intense machine gun fire forces you to take cover. The Germans have transformed the town into a fortress. Every major building contains machine gun nests. Snipers occupy church steeples and factory chimneys. Anti-tank guns cover the main approaches. This will be no easy victory. Your company commander calls for volunteers to probe the German defenses. You and 4 other men are selected to approach the town hall, a massive concrete building in the center of Mazaret. Intelligence believes a platoon of German troops, perhaps 30 men, are holed up inside. You move in short rushes from building to building, covering each other's advance. The streets are eerily quiet except for occasional sniper fire. Most civilians have fled or are hiding in cellars. The only sounds are your boots on the cobblestones and the distant rumble of artillery. At last, you reach a position with a clear view of the town hall across an open square. It's an imposing structure with few windows, most of which have been fortified with sandbags. You can see the narrow slits where machine guns are positioned, covering every approach. Ready? Your squad leader whispers. You nod, throat dry, heart pounding. On his signal, all 5 of you dash across the open square, firing from the hip as you run. Miraculously, you reach the building without being hit. You burst through the front door into a lobby area and immediately encounter 2 German soldiers. In the close quarters firefight that follows, both are killed. But your small force is now in serious trouble. Moving deeper into the building, you discover machine guns positioned at the end of every corridor, behind concrete barriers with just narrow firing slits. There's no way to advance without walking into a death trap. Fall back, your squad leader shouts. We need more men and heavier weapons. You retreat to your starting position and report what you've found. That night, plans are made for a larger assault. You and your 4 comrades are considered the experts now, having seen the interior layout. Despite your warnings about the machine gun positions, the attack plan doesn't include heavy weapons to neutralize them. The next morning, you return with a full platoon, about 30 men, to assault the town hall again. This time the Germans are ready for you. As you cross the square, mortar rounds begin landing around your advancing group. You feel a sharp impact on your left arm, spinning you around. Looking down, you see blood streaming from a wound where shrapnel is torn through your uniform, your wallet, and your flesh, leaving an entry and exit wound. Despite the injury, you continue advancing until you reach the building, but the pain and blood loss are becoming too much. You tell the platoon leader you're wounded and need to fall back. He nods grimly. Several others are wounded as well. You make your way back across the square, blood dripping from your fingertips, while the rest of the platoon continues the assault. At the company aid station, a medic examines your wound. You're gonna be okay, he says, cleaning and bandaging it. But you're headed to the rear. You'll be sleeping in sheets tonight, buddy. It's only then that the reality hits you. You're leaving the front line. For the first time in months, you won't be sleeping in a foxhole, won't be listening for German patrols, won't be counting your remaining ammunition. The relief is so overwhelming that tears spring to your eyes. From the aid station, you're evacuated to a field hospital, then to Paris, then to England by hospital ship. Your war isn't over. The wound will heal, but you've been granted a reprieve from the constant danger and stress of combat. In the English hospital, doctors perform multiple surgeries to clean the wound and prevent infection. You're given penicillin every 2 hours. As a walking wounded, you're able to go to the mess hall for meals, enjoying real food after months of K-rations. The simple pleasure of sleeping in a clean bed, taking regular showers, and wearing a fresh uniform each day seems like unimaginable luxury. While recovering, you learn that your division has finally taken Metz after bloody fighting. The cost has been high. Your regiment alone suffered hundreds of casualties in the urban combat. The Siegfried Line has been breached, and American forces are pushing into Germany itself. As you recuperate in England, momentous events are unfolding on the Western Front. In mid-December 1944, the Germans launch a massive counteroffensive through the Ardennes forest, what will become known as the Battle of the Bulge. The surprise attack catches American forces off guard, creating a massive bulge in the Allied lines. The need for experienced infantrymen becomes desperate. Hospital wards are combed for men with combat experience who are well enough to return to duty. Anyone wearing the combat infantryman's badge who isn't actively bleeding is shipped back to the front. You're one of them. Your wound has healed enough for light duty, though it still aches in cold weather. By the time you rejoin the 90th Division, the Battle of the Bulge is over. The Germans expended their last reserves in the desperate offensive and gained nothing. Now, Allied forces are pushing deep into Germany itself. You report to Division headquarters, expecting to be sent back to Company K, 357th Regiment. But fate intervenes. Anyone here speak German? An officer asks the group of returning wounded. You raise your hand, along with a few others. Your German-American background has finally become an asset rather than a potential liability. After a brief test of your language skills, the officer nods. You men are being assigned to the MP platoon. We need German speakers to help maintain order in occupied towns. Just like that, your war changes again. Instead of returning to the frontline infantry, you're now part of a small team responsible for establishing order in newly captured German towns and cities. It's dangerous work in its own way. You're often the first Americans to occupy these areas, dealing with a population that may include fanatical Nazis, deserters, and desperate civilians. Your typical mission now involves entering a town immediately after the combat troops have moved through, with just a jeep, a machine gun, and 2 or 3 other MPs. You're tasked with establishing American authority and maintaining order until military government teams arrive. In some small villages, this is relatively simple. The civilians are often relieved that the fighting has passed them by and are willing to cooperate with reasonable orders. You post curfews, confiscate weapons, and identify the town leadership. But in larger cities, the challenges are greater. In Hof, a city of 200,000 people near the Czechoslovakian border, you find yourself part of a 3-man team responsible for the entire city. The absurdity isn't lost on you. 3 American GIs controlling a city of 200,000 Germans. You remove the muffler from your Jeep so it makes more noise as you patrol, creating the illusion of a larger American presence. Your German language skills prove invaluable. You can communicate directly with civilians, question suspected Nazi Party members, and coordinate with local officials who remain in place under American supervision. The Germans, you discover, respond well to structure and rules. General Patton, understanding this aspect of German culture, establishes detailed regulations for everything from street cleaning schedules to garbage collection. The Germans like rules, he says. Since they expect to have instructions, we'll give them instructions. You hear German civilians commenting with grudging admiration. These Americans are really organized. It's a strange form of psychological warfare, using the German love of order against them. As your division pushes further into Germany, you witness the collapse of the Nazi regime firsthand. Civilians who proudly displayed swastika flags a week earlier now claim they were never Nazis. Party officials burn their uniforms and identification papers. Some try to blend in with refugees fleeing from the east. The humanitarian situation becomes increasingly dire. German cities have been devastated by Allied bombing. Food is scarce. Refugees from eastern territories, fleeing the advancing Soviet forces, stream westward by the millions. Displaced persons from all across Europe, former slave laborers, concentration camp survivors, prisoners of war, wander the roads seeking food and shelter. Your unit plays a small but important role in addressing this chaos. You help establish collection points for displaced persons, distribute emergency rations, and maintain public health measures to prevent the spread of disease. The war is clearly winding down, but dangers remain. Occasionally you encounter werewolf units, fanatical Nazi youth trained for behind-the-lines resistance. One day, while patrolling a rural road, you spot 3 men walking who don't look like typical civilians. When you approach, one runs. You fire warning shots, but he escapes into the woods. The other 2 surrender. Both are SS soldiers trying to make their way home in civilian clothes. You transport them to a holding camp where your old regiment, the 357th, is guarding thousands of captured SS troops. The sight of these elite Nazi forces, now disarmed and behind barbed wire, gives you a profound sense of how completely the tables have turned. In April 1945, your division liberates Flossenburg concentration camp. Though you personally don't witness this, you hear reports from those who did. The descriptions of emaciated prisoners, corpses stacked like cordwood, and evidence of systematic cruelty are beyond anything you could have imagined. This is why you've been fighting. This is what the Nazi regime truly represents. By early May, your unit has advanced into Czechoslovakia, the first American division to enter the country. The contrast with Germany is striking. Czech towns are largely intact. Stores still have goods on their shelves. And the population welcomes Americans as liberators. You're on the outskirts of Pilsen, Czechoslovakia. When the news arrives on May 8th, 1945, Germany has surrendered unconditionally. The war in Europe is over. The celebration is tempered by exhaustion. Your division has been in combat for 308 days, the longest of any American division in the European theater. It has suffered over 250% casualties, meaning the entire division has been replaced 2.5 times over. Of the officers who landed with your regiment on Utah Beach, only 6 remain. You've come through it all, from the bloodbath of Normandy's hedgerows to the urban fighting at Metz, from frontline combat to military police duties. You've seen humanity at its worst and at its best. You've experienced fear, courage, camaraderie, and loss in ways that civilians can never fully understand. As the reality of victory sinks in, a new question arises. What comes next? The war against Japan continues in the Pacific. Will your division be sent there after a brief respite? Or will your role now focus on occupation duty in defeated Germany? For now, there's no way to know. You can only take each day as it comes, grateful to have survived when so many others did not. December 1945. You're standing on the deck of the SS Mariposa. As it approaches Hampton Roads, Virginia, the American coastline emerges from the morning mist. After 2 years, 6 months, and 1 day of service, most of it in combat, you're finally coming home. But coming home isn't as simple as it sounds. The man returning to America isn't the same one who left. You've seen things most civilians can't comprehend. You've made life or death decisions daily. You've watched friends die. How do you return to normal life when normal feels like a distant memory? Your discharge papers from Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, read honorable discharge, but they can't begin to tell your story. The 14 German counterattacks at Beau-Coudray, the slaughter at the Falaise Gap, the wound at Metz that sent you to hospitals across Europe, your combat infantryman's badge, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and 4 battle stars are now pinned to civilian clothes that feel strangely unfamiliar. Within a week of discharge, you're at Rutgers University, re-enrolling for the spring semester. The campus has changed dramatically. Swollen with veterans using the GI Bill, the pre-war traditions are fading. When sophomore students try to enforce freshman hazing rituals on returning veterans, they're met with flat refusals. I came to college to learn, not to play games. You face a choice. Do you attempt to resume the life you left behind? Or do you acknowledge that war has fundamentally changed you and forge a completely new path? The classroom feels surreal after combat. While professors lecture about theoretical problems, your mind sometimes drifts back to real ones. Calculating artillery trajectories not as mathematical exercises, but as the difference between life and death. You find yourself scanning rooftops for snipers, startling at loud noises, positioning yourself with your back to the wall in crowded rooms. Your academic interests shift. Pre-med no longer calls to you. Instead, you're drawn to forestry, perhaps seeking the peace of natural settings after witnessing humanity at its worst. The woods don't judge. Trees don't ambush. Nature operates by predictable rules, unlike the chaos of war. Despite your shrapnel wound, you return to the varsity crew team. The physical discipline feels right. The structured training, the teamwork, the clear objective. It's familiar in a world that otherwise feels foreign. In class, you occasionally encounter professors teaching subjects you now know firsthand. When a geography professor describes Algeria incorrectly, a veteran who served there speaks up. "That's not right, Prof. I just spent 4 years there." The classroom falls silent as theory meets reality. After graduating in 1948, you make another pivotal decision, moving to California for forestry school at Berkeley. Your mother asks when you're coming back to New Jersey. "I don't know," you tell her. "It's pretty nice out here." Maybe it's easier to build a new life than to retrofit an old one. Maybe California, with its wide-open spaces and forward-looking culture, offers something the familiar East Coast cannot. A place where you're not constantly reminded of who you were before the war. The war has left tangible marks. That German 88mm shell that exploded near you during the race across France destroyed your ability to hear high frequencies. No hearing aid can restore what's permanently lost. The high notes of a violin, the sound of birds singing, the voices of women and children. It's a daily reminder of combat's lasting consequences. You build a civilian career, far from the battlefields of Europe, eventually working in personnel management for the state of California. You marry, raise a family, find new purpose. But the lessons of combat remain. The importance of preparation, the value of teamwork, the clarity that comes from facing mortality. The camaraderie of men who face death together creates bonds that civilians rarely understand. When you meet other combat veterans, there's an unspoken recognition. You don't need to explain. They already know. In quiet moments, certain memories return with startling clarity. The chrome bayonets of German paratroopers glinting in the Normandy sun. The expressions on French civilians' faces as you liberated their villages. The hospital ward in England where you learned you wouldn't lose your arm. The war that consumed your youth becomes a dividing line in your personal history. Everything before and everything after. It's no longer the central fact of your daily existence, but it remains the defining experience of your life. The filter through which all else is viewed. From a Boy Scout in Summit, New Jersey, to a combat infantryman in the fields of Normandy, to a civilian building a new life in California, your journey spans continents and decades. The crucible of combat transformed you, but it didn't define your entire life. That, perhaps, is the greatest victory of all. The greatest tribute we can offer to Bill and his comrades is to remember, not just the battles won, but the individual lives given and forever changed in service, to a cause greater than self. This has been the story of William A. Biehler, one soldier among millions. May we never forget. William's story can be shared thanks to a partnership with the Rutgers University Oral History Archives. If you've got a story you'd like their help in sharing, visit oralhistory.rutgers.edu. That's oralhistory.rutgers.edu. Visit povworldwar2.com for podcast updates and more. That's povww2.com. I'm Fernando Prieto. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a positive review or rating. It actually makes a huge difference in helping people find these stories and only takes a few seconds. This story can be shared thanks to a partnership with the Rutgers University Oral History Archives. If you've got a story you'd like their help in sharing, visit oralhistory.rutgers.edu. That's oralhistory.rutgers.edu. Visit povworldwar2.com for podcast updates and more. That's povww2.com. I'm Fernando Prieto. Thanks again for listening.